Jujutsu Kaisen's manga has officially wrapped up, and its final chapter makes it clear that a prequel is almost a must. The author hit series ended after 6 years with chapter 271, and while fans were hoping for a sequel, it doesn't seem like that's happening. However, a prequel might still be on the table, and honestly, it's probably necessary. Why? Because the finale drops a lot of hints about the backstory of Sukuna, and reminds us just how little we actually know about him. The final chapter wraps things up nicely for Yuji, Fushiguro, and Nobara as they complete their last mission. We also get some closure on Gojo's final words to Yuji and learn Sukuna's fate, which is satisfying for fans. But even though the series explains Sukuna's philosophy and why he does what he does, it barely touches on his past. We still don't know much about what made him such a complex and terrifying villain. That's why, even though we might not get a sequel, a prequel diving into Sukuna's backstory would be the perfect way to fill in those gaps and give us what we've been dying to know. Anyway, before we continue, please subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any daily uploads. Now, let's begin. Even though Sukuna is the big bad of Jujutsu Kaisen, he's also the most mysterious character in the entire series. We don't know much about him from when he was human, except for the disturbing fact that he was kind of an outcast and, oh yeah, he ate his twin in the womb. That bombshell was dropped in the final arc. We get a few flashbacks of Sukuna from the Heian era, but they don't really clear anything up. Instead, they just add more layers to his mystery. By the time Jujutsu Kaisen wraps up, we're left with so many unanswered questions about Sukuna's past. That's why a prequel would be the perfect way to dive deeper into his story and finally show us what made him the terrifying villain who has been haunting the Jujutsu world for centuries. Besides his creepy childhood, we're also left wondering how Sukuna managed to split his soul into 20 pieces and why he did it in the first place. There's so much we still don't know, and a prequel could fill in all those gaps, finally giving us the answers we've been waiting for. Chapter 271 also leaves fans curious about Sukuna's relationship with Urama. Kurama was so loyal that they sacrificed their life without a second thought when Sukuna was defeated. Some fans argue against a Highend-era prequel, claiming it might feel like a repeat of the final Shinjuku Showdown arc, just with new characters that we haven't had time to get attached to. However, Jujutsu Kaisen has already introduced several reincarnated sorcerers from that era, like Uro Angel and Yorozu, so we're not exactly unfamiliar with that time period. The most intriguing of these is Uro, whose dark history with Sukuna has only been teased so far. Chapter 238, for instance, hints that Sukuna wiped out Uro's Sun, Moon, and Star Squad, and also fought angels from the Abe Clan's elite forces. We've also heard mentions of the Fujiwara clan. Uro used to work for them as an assassin, and the Sugawara clan, which is probably connected to Yuta and Gojo's ancestor, Mishizane Sugawara. Despite all these references, Jujutsu Kaisen hasn't really explored the Heian era properly. A prequel would give us the chance to dive into all these mysteries while also fleshing out Sukuna, who's already one of the most interesting characters even though we don't know much about it. Sure, not every villain needs a long backstory to be effective, and Sukuna definitely works as is, but a prequel would add more depth to the series and enrich the whole Jujutsu Kaisen universe. The Gojo Clan is also still a mystery. In Jujutsu Kaisen, we know that sorcerers come from all kinds of backgrounds, but the Jujutsu Society is mostly run by 3 powerful families: the Zenin Clan, the Gojo Clan, and the Kamo Clan. These families have been in charge for over 1,000 years and hold a lot of power. But here's the thing, while we've learned a lot about the Zenin and Kamo families, the Gojo Clan remains one of the biggest unanswered mysteries in the whole series. Outside of Satoru Gojo, who's the strongest sorcerer of his time and was the current head of the clan, we've heard almost nothing about other Gojo family members. Like, what was Satoru's childhood really like? Are there other strong family members hiding out there? Or does Satoru carry the whole weight of the clan on his shoulders? It's kind of strange that a clan with so much influence hasn't been explored more. And now Jujutsu Kaisen is over. We're left hanging with no real answers. Then there's the Gojo and Zenin clans rivalry, which is another mystery from the past. We know there's bad blood between these two families, but why? The series has dropped a few hints here and there, but it never fully explained what caused their beef in the first place. What did they fight over in ancient times? And how did that conflict shape the events of the present story? With Jujutsu Kaisen ending, we may never get a proper answer to these questions unless there's a prequel. That's why a prequel is so necessary. For JJK, it could dive into these unexplored storylines, giving us a closer look at the Gojo Clan, the clash with the Zenin family, and the other big mysteries that weren't fully explained. Plus, seeing how these clans have been battling for power over the centuries would not only be epic, but it would also fill in a lot of gaps left by the original series. And one last thing, why and how did Kenjaku take over Yujis Mother? This is one of those questions that might go unanswered in the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen. We know that Kenjaku took control of Kaori Itadori, Yuji's mom, but the manga hasn't really explained why or how he managed to do this. Even though Kaori was possessed, the story leaves us hanging about the reasons behind it, especially since she's presumed to have died before Yuji was even born. This whole situation raises even more questions about how Kenjaku's actions led to Yuji becoming Sukuna's vessel. With the series now wrapped up, it seems like these important details will never get explored further. This is exactly why a prequel for Jujutsu Kaisen would be so beneficial. A prequel could dive deep into the backstory of Kenjaku and his motives, providing clarity on how he took over Kaori. We only know one reason why Kenjaku took over Yuji's mom, and that reason was to receive back shots from Sukuna's twin brother and give birth to Yuji. That's the only thing we know. So what were Yorozu's final words meant for? Things get pretty intense when we learn that Sumiki Fushiguro, Fushiguro's sister, is one of the players chosen to be vessels for past sorcerers. The situation gets even crazier when it turns out she's possessed by Yorozu, a sorcerer from the Heian era, just like Sukuna. In a shocking twist, Yorozu challenges Sukuna to a duel while he's in control of Fushiguro's body. To completely break Fushiguro's spirit, Sukuna takes it a step further and kills Fushiguro's sister, using Fushiguro's own body and techniques. But the real mystery lies in Yorozu's last words as she's about to die. It's not clear if she's addressing Sukuna or Fushiguro. What makes it even more complicated is that we discover Yorozu had feelings for Sukuna, thinking she was the only one who could love him. Some fans speculate that her final words were meant for Sukuna to help him in his fight against Gojo, while others think that in her last moments, Sumiki might have regained control and sent a message to her brother, Fushiguro. I think those words came from Yorozu, but I'm not sure. This ambiguity leaves a lot of questions hanging, and this is exactly why JJK could really benefit from a prequel.